Welcome to the Food Professor Podcast, presented by Caddle, Season 6, Episode 2. I'm Michael LeBlanc.
And I'm the food professor, Sylvain Charlebois.
Our very special guest for this episode, our first guest of the season, is Greg Mercer, award-winning investigative reporter for the Globe and Mail. Just released his first book. I'm holding it up right here. If you join us on YouTube, you can see the front cover, Lobster Trap, looking at the past, present, and future of the global and Canadian lobster industry. Not the first nor the last time we'll be talking about those cannibal crustaceans, Sylvain.
Yeah, that's one way to describe lobsters for sure. But lobster is a big industry, of course, in the Atlantic. And Greg did a pretty good job with his book describing the history of the cockroach of the sea, what it means to our economy, and the dark side of the industry as well. I think he really, he didn't hesitate to go to certain places to describe exactly what went on or what is going on, how the industry actually works. Because we often talk about the beautiful parts of the industry. We never talk about, things that aren't necessarily reported.
Yeah. Or have been. Like there's been a lot of conflict with First Nations. There's all kinds of trade disputes going
being
on.
Reported.
Very complicated.
Yeah. But absolutely, I think Greg does a pretty good job explaining the realities of the industry overall.
Well, we'll get to that a little bit later. It's a great start to the interview. Got lots of great interviews lined up. Now, what's the? Just wanted to check in with you. What's the status of the Dalhousie lockout? Are they back at school? Are you back on your email, or what's going on?
No emails, nothing, no auto replies, no transfer emails. So if you're sending me emails in the last 15 days, 16 days, I'm not getting anything. So I'm using Gmail. We're still locked out. QP just voted in favor of a strike now, and QP would include research assistants, teaching assistants, and part-time teachers. So it's a bit of a mess right now. And I was actually at McGill yesterday teaching my first class, and everyone was asking what was going on there. And there is some solidarity between faculties, of course.
Sure.
But I feel bad for students and parents. They're just waiting to know what is going to happen. This is the first time we've seen a lockout affecting a major university in Canada. So it's kind of weird.
All right. Well, we'll keep tuned in on that. So as a reminder, for anybody's trying to reach Sylvain, the usual things. And for many of us, when I hit your name, it populates you and I have missed a few emails because of my fault. It auto populates your DAL email, so I got to switch it to the Gmail. But anyway, there you go. So
it is what it is.
It is what it is. So in this episode, we're going to talk about Kraft Heinz. We're going to talk about meal kits. We're going to talk about Crown Royal and the Ontario Premier. More canola trouble.
Nestle. Oh, yeah.
Nestle.
Lots to talk about. Yeah.
New leadership at McDonald's Canada and the Retail Council of Canada. So anyway, let's jump in with this whole Kraft Heinz splitting up. So this is it's a big story in one way. I saw that, who was it? Berkshire Hathaway frowned upon it. And, it's funny. We talked about mergers and acquisitions last week. With the who was it, with Pete's and Keurig, right? So now we've got
Dr. Pepper and Keurig.
Dr. Pepper and Keurig. So now we've got Kraft Heinz splitting up. My God, they've gone through. Remember the Barbarians at the Gate era? They've gone through all these CPG brands go up, down, and sideways. So what do you make of this? I mean, last week you proposed as well, that the trade turbulence, the restructuring of capitalism, just a reinvention of how business is done, in some ways good, bad, or not so equal, have people restructuring and rethinking about how they structure their business. What's the impact here in Canada, and what do you make of this change?
Well, if you go back in history, of course, Kraft Heinz merged 10 years ago, I guess, in 2015. With the help of Berkshire Hathaway, with Warren Buffett and 3G Capital out of Brazil. And their style was about cutting and bill efficiencies. That's how that's their way to extract value from a company, and that led to the closing of Leamington. Do you remember that? Like
Right.
the Leamington plant closed in 2016,
My
which led
switch to French's. My switch to French's ketchup. The
yeah,
country
which led
switched
to
to
the
French's.
ketchup wars, of course, and forcing Loblaw to release franchise. Anyways, there's some history there for sure. And at the time, the idea was big is beautiful, and I think the big is beautiful mantra impacted the entire CPG space, because you saw Dr. Pepper and Keurig, you saw Kellogg's as well merging, and you saw many different companies becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. And now, what's interesting, the last 12 months, we're seeing the reversal. So,
Mm-hmm.
Kellogg's with Calanova, Dr. Pepper and Keurig. Because a couple of weeks ago, they decided to separate coffee with non coffee products. And now we're hearing, and it's not much of a surprise, because we were hearing rumors where they're splitting the company into two, not necessarily Kraft and Heinz as they were before 2015.
Mm-hmm.
They will actually separate grocery with certain staples, I think, for the service industry overall. So
Mm.
it's going to be interesting to watch. I'm actually touring the Kraft
Mm.
Heinz plant in Montreal next week, and it in Montreal, they actually manufacture peanut butter, ketchup, and cream cheese.
Huh.
And when you look at what's being proposed as a new structure, I don't know exactly how that's going to work and how that's going to impact this mega plant in Montreal. So very logical, makes a whole lot of sense. I do think that because of what's going on with, you got the cream cheese there, yeah, absolutely, and you gotta wonder what's next. And I think what's next is that I do think that companies will start to look at local much more seriously. They won't necessarily look at regions, world regions like North America, Europe, Asia. They'll start actually looking at micro markets much
Mm.
more closely. And that's kind of, I wouldn't say it's Trump's legacy with nationalism and tariffs, but I suspect it's really pushing companies to rethink how they
Mm.
commercialize, how they manufacture products
Mm-hmm.
overall.
You know what? My take on some of this is also something I think about a lot, which, all companies are trying to grow. And sometimes I would characterize them as having not an expense problem, because as you say, they probably got ring tight from all expenses. So they don't have a cost problem. What they've got is a growth and relevance problem. They got a growth and relevance problem.
I
And,
actually agree. Yeah, I agree
so
with you.
the growth, you need to get more specialized. Of course, we don't talk the whole food service side of it's quite big as well, but it's less about, after all these years of merger, it's not about it being efficient. It's about being relevant and
Yep.
figuring out how to grow. Um,
And frankly, I mean, you gotta admit, I mean, there are two other factors pushing companies to rethink how they distribute products. You got
mm,
the private labeling thing going on. More and more grocers are pushing, especially in North America, they're
hmm
pushing their private labels. And the Ozempic factor. I mean, let's talk
Yep.
about this. I mean, it's important. We've talked about this before on the pod. I'm hearing more and more about Ozempic. We talked about it last week. And I think it's pushing companies to think differently about ingredients, how to
hmm
market certain products overall. And there's some adaptation that is required. And that level of adaptation will vary from one market to another.
Let's stick with CPG. So a big announcement, a local favorite. It was a favorite of my household, Yves. There I am,
Yves.
holding up
I
my
know.
my latest Yves. I like their ground veggie in my shepherd's pie. Actually, a favorite.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, and they used to make a flat disc breakfast sausage, which was very, very good. But I can't find it anymore. So I wanted to ask you. So the
Well, I
news
guess
is,
you won't find anything anymore.
well, I guess my question to you, what's it? Haynes selling? Who is it? Haynes,
It was
the
an
owner.
American company, and I can't remember the name, but it was bought by that company many, many years ago. Yves Potvin, who I've actually met,
Ah,
he lives in Vancouver now, started the company, and he's now he's supporting other startups right now. Uh, the company changed, and I think a couple of things have happened there. First of all, I think that the Podvin or the Yves brand is one of the best in the country when it comes to plant based. I mean, these products were very good, but they were very expensive too. And I think the plant based space retail got really competitive because many years, 25, 30 years ago, Yves was basically that was it. That was the only brand you could find, and you need to know what you were looking for. But now there's so much competition. Lactalis actually this summer announced that it was closing its Sudbury plant, so it's actually exiting the plant-based market as well. I do think that margins have gotten tighter. It's becoming more difficult to compete, and I think the American company decided to withdraw Yves because they didn't feel that there was a strong case to re-energize the brand
Well,
basically
I
in
mean, that's
Canada.
a really interesting point. It's Hanes Celestial, by the way. I was just checking it
Okay,
out.
thank you.
Um, is this a case of, I mean, from when that big company bought them, they seem to get lost. Like I saw no or little innovation in the category in their products. They changed their logo and packaging, I think, just after they bought them. Fine.
Yep.
But then I didn't see any great innovation in the
There was
product
no
at
effort.
all.
No, no.
So, I guess is it they're saying, listen, the whole plant based thing didn't work out. I'm not quite sure that's the answer. I mean, I feel like they had a great toehold. Maybe it's too small a business for the American company to care about as well. But I didn't see a lot of innovation. I don't know. Maybe they got a different story to tell us. Love to hear from them and say, no, we tried, but on my grocery shelf, I didn't see
Well, the
much.
one thing I don't know was the product sold in the US as well. My understanding is that it wasn't. It was really a Canadian market
Mm,
thing. And the Canadian market is pretty tight right now. Canadians
yep.
are really careful with their money. You're seeing more discount stores opening up all over the place. And so unlike the US, the economy is not growing. It's actually shrinking. You saw
Yeah.
the GDP numbers. That's never a good thing for the food business, is because people have less money, and
Yeah.
so and
Well, I
ease.
hear Beyond Beef is in real trouble. I hear
Yeah,
I'd be surprised if I'd be surprised not to hear the next one getting in announced trouble isn't Beyond Beef. They're putting out some real vibes about real trouble.
yeah.
Uh, you know,
Well, it's
as a premium, it's probably a premium product now, and the whole rationale of Omna, these flexitarians didn't really
yeah.
hold true. Anyway, we're gonna miss it in our family. We're gonna stock up because I do like it as in
But I
many
do
things.
think
But
it's because it is a premium product, and premium products are having a hard time right now across the country, unfortunately. So yeah, Eves was an innovator, but yeah, it's and frankly, I don't think people understand what the what the withdrawal or the discontinuance of the brand actually means. To me, I didn't care about the plant based. Plant based certainly one thing that you need to follow, but frankly, when you see these products disappear, that's not a good sign
just less
for
choice, right? Just less
less
choice.
choice, less growth, and yeah, it's not great. I'm hoping that at some point we'll see retail sales are up again, like food retail sales are up again finally in the spring, but it's still a tough go for grocers for sure.
Let's talk about another. Should we call it a premium product? Meal kits. So
Meal kits, yeah.
take us through your latest thoughts and findings on the meal kit business. We've talked about it several times on the podcast. We've had I guess our last. It's not exactly a meal kit. We had the president of We Cook on
Yep.
last season, which isn't a meal kit in as much as you don't put it together. By the way, I continue to buy it for my mom every couple of weeks. She loves it. Just pop it in the microwave. Great food. Shout out to
Yep.
the folks at We Cook. But what have you discovered about meal
Yeah,
kits?
We Cook is actually a meal. I mean, it's just
Right.
a ready to
Just
eat
pop,
meal. Yeah.
done, assembled, ready to go. It's perfect for my mom. Love it.
Meal kits are like the IKEA of food. You basically are you're s- you're they
Without an
ship.
Allen key, you can't eat with the Allen key. That's the only
Yeah,
problem.
if there's too much, they're called leftovers. With IKEA, if there are spare parts, that's a problem.
Yeah, that's true.
But with meal kits, I mean, here's the thing: our lab surveyed Canadians 3 weeks before the pandemic on meal kits.
Mm-hmm.
And so I called Caddle Ransom and asked them to survey Canadians again using the same survey, the same questionnaire, and ask them the same question whether or not they're using meal kits. Are they subscribers? What service are they using? And if they're not using the service anymore, why, and why are they using? And so it was really interesting, and the results are pretty interesting. So back in 2020, 4.5% of Canadians were subscribers. They actually did use meal kits on a regular basis, i.e., once a week. Now we're up to 8.5%.
Wow.
Yeah. So now it is a survey. It's always difficult to know really what the real number is, but it's
still.
always interesting to ask the people who no longer use a service like that why aren't they using a service like that anymore? And the number one reason is price. 70% of Canadians actually have decided not to stay with a meal kit provider because of price. And second is basically packaging at about 20%. So that's really something that annoys a lot of people. They think there's
too much packaging and
plastics. Yeah, I mean, we actually use a meal kit provider at home. And and sometimes we send meal kits to our kids at universities, different universities, and it's helpful. But the problem is the packaging. It's just a lot of stuff. Like you got the styrofoam, the plastics, you got a lot of stuff to keep things fresh, right? Because sometimes your meal kits are delivered early in the morning, and you won't come back from work until 4 or 5. So
it's the same with We Cook. It arrives and there's 4 or 5 freezer packs in there.
yeah.
Now they're reusable, so I've got like just a giant chest full of gel freezer packs.
Yeah.
So that's
And
reusable.
It's well done. I mean, if you're looking for ideas, I mean, right now people going back to school and everything else, parents are pressed for time, and sometimes after a couple of weeks, when kids are back in school, you're struggling to, you're struggling to find ideas to feed your family. Well, actually, meal kits are pretty good with that. They're constantly innovating, providing their subscribers with new ideas. So that's great, but it is pricey. It is pretty pricey. It can vary
premium
from
service. Yeah, it's a premium service.
It may actually be it can be anywhere between $8 to $12 per person, and you still have to work. So yeah.
Let's shift for a couple stories before we get to our interview.
Just before we switch to another topic, so back in 2020, we measured that the market for meal kits in Canada was about 600 million, 700 million. And right now we believe it's over 1.2 billion now.
Yeah, exceeded expectations. Super interesting.
But we don't believe there'll be new entrants, newcomers, new companies. We are expecting some consolidation. HelloFresh is the big market leader. Good Food is number 2, and I believe Chef's Plate is number 3. We're expecting some consolidation because really prices aren't really moving up, and to operate a meal kit provider is pretty expensive.
It's a logistic intense business, that's for sure.
Exactly.
Intense business. All right, let's move on to a couple things before we get into our interview with Greg. We got some good news, I think, in Canadian-Indo relations. Takes a turn for normalization.
Yes.
New high commissioners on both sides, both 35-year veterans. It seems like, we got veteran diplomats on both sides. I guess this was agreed to in a pull aside back at the G7. I mean, India, it's fascinating because India is getting, as of last week, punished by America for, suddenly America's mad at them for buying Russian oil. So, is this the beginning of a new opportunity or a greater opportunity? We've been hoping that there'd be some breakthrough with India. Could this be it?
I think so. I think that's the kind of sign you should be looking for when it comes to diplomacy. Obviously, our relationship with India hasn't been great, especially since Prime Minister Trudeau accused India of murder, essentially. And that was, I believe, a couple of years ago. And now with a new leader, with Prime Minister Carney, I actually think since he has become prime minister, he's done a pretty good job with his rapprochement with India. Invited Prime Minister Modi to the G7 in June, which is great. And now we have people in the embassy in both Ottawa and New Delhi. So lots of positive signs. And of course, we need a strong relationship with India. India right now is not a huge trading partner, but it should. It should. I mean, it's not even in the top 20 right now, but it should be a really strong trading partner of ours.
Next, we got more canola trouble. Canada is asking the US EPA for an exception, barring canola as used for biofuels. I guess this is another barrier from the Americans to our canola farmers, right? It's kind of like, again, if we remove the China EV tariffs, the Americans might say, well, no exception for you.
Yeah.
So
no exception for you. No soup for you.
No soup for you. We seem to be every day, every week between a rock and a different, harder place.
Yeah, I know. No, it's not great for canola growers, and obviously, there is some pivoting. I'm actually expecting next year to see many farmers move away from canola. They'll probably produce something else because of the negative trading environment that we're seeing on many fronts, China, the US. And so it's not helpful. It doesn't help farmers in Canada, and canola is really a precious thing for Canadians. So it's not great. I mean, canola prices are depressed. They're very low. So we are expecting many farms in Canada to break even, maybe make a little money, but not. It's not like it was a few years ago. A few years ago, they actually did make some good money, but not this year. And it's not because of droughts or climate. It's because of geopolitics. Yeah, which is really frustrating.
Well, speaking of geopolitics, let's get to our interview with Greg Mercer from his book, The Lobster Trap. Here it is once again. Great book. And let's hear all about it with a great conversation with Greg. So one of my father's favorite beverages, I found a lot of bottles of Crown Royal when I was clearing out the house in Ottawa. He had lots of bottles, some back from the 40s and 50s, actually. So they're a very popular drink, but not so popular this week with the Ontario Premier, who poured it all over the podium in a show of "You hurt me, I hurt you." What's going on? What do you make of this?
I don't know how you felt when you saw Premier Ford pour Crown Royal on the ground, but it felt awkward. I mean, I had two thoughts came up in my mind. One, I don't think he knew what he was doing. One, because
we should take a step. So they announced, they being Diageo, I think, who owns it, that they were going to move a plant to America. But then
just close to Windsor to the US, right?
But then I was reading that a lot of the product, the raw materials, the mash, all still happens here. So for a second,
that's right.
if you have got awareness of that, tell me.
Well, that's exactly what I'm going to say. I mean, he was pouring a bottle of Crown Royal that was made in Manitoba, because there's a plant there owned by Diageo, and bottled in Valleyfield, Quebec, close to where I am right now. And the plant in Ontario that's closing was there to service the American market, essentially. So Diageo, which has been thinking about moving the plant south, basically made the decision because tariffs just made the decision much easier for them.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was pouring a bottle of Crown Royal that was made in Canada and will continue to be made in Canada. And so When I saw that, I thought, does he
It's kind of
know that?
it's kind of like your point last week about
Because
Vicks, because it was
if he's asking to
Canadian.
boycott Crown Royal, he's basically compromising jobs in Canada, in Manitoba and
Mm.
Quebec. Not
Like I
in the,
said, it's kind of like your Bix pickles example. You're eating pickles that were actually from cucumbers grown in Canada, just shipped back
yeah.
to.
And the other thing that really concerns me, and I think that's the more broader issue here, is that when you see a government picking and choosing winners and losers, that's when you
Mm.
get into trouble, because
Mm.
it will come back and bite you eventually. Because if you're a company looking into Canada, looking at Ontario, looking at a premier trashing a brand, would you want to invest there? And think that perhaps you may make a decision that may not please Queen's Park or Ottawa or Quebec or anybody really. I mean, you're exposing your company to tremendous risks.
Mm.
And of course, when you withdraw a product from the market, you're reducing competition and you're pushing prices higher for everything. Now we're talking about alcohol here, but it can happen into to food as well. So I do think that what Premier Ford did was extremely short-sighted and dangerous, to be honest.
Well, I'll give you the whiskey glass half full interpretation of one element of something you said, which is if you are thinking about opening a plant in Canada, you'll be welcomed with open arms. So the same energy around leaving could be doubled when you arrive. So you'd have the support in with the premier. So I don't know. Maybe that's like I said,
But
the whiskey
the
glass half full.
boycott, the suggestion of a boycott, and there's of course Unifor, which represents workers in the plant that's closing, is asking for the LCBO to ban Crown Royal. But we're talking about Diageo, which owns Smirnoff and
Hmm.
Bailey's
Yeah.
and other products. I mean, this is not a small organization here.
Mm.
And so I'm not against boycotts, but uh, it has to be coming from consumers. Consumers should have the last say on anything. If you want to boycott Loblaw, if you want to boycott anything, go ahead. It shouldn't be coming from a politician, let alone a premier of the largest province in the country. You know what? This is the Captain Canada thing. The Captain Canada cry woofing is just too much right now. I think Doug Ford should just wear his Canada's not for sale hat and shut up.
Right. Well, there you have it.
Yeah.
Let's see if
I
we can
mean, do
get.
you agree? I mean, a lot of people don't agree with me. I mean, they think it's wonderful that he did that.
Listen, by the numbers, Premier Ford, who won a record-setting, never done before, third majority. There's been other premiers in Ontario who've won 3 mandates, but no one's ever won 3 straight majorities. More details came out polling. He's the most popular premier in the country.
yeah.
So by the numbers, if you're just thinking of it through a political lens, seems to be working. Seems that they like somebody
Oh,
to hark back.
politically, I mean, we can talk about politics, but this is not a political pod. I'm just telling you. I'm just presenting you the risks related to what he did this week with the Crown Royal bottle. And by the way, if you want to pour Crown Royal on the ground, just take off the plastic part so it goes faster. He was actually there forever.
I ruined the moment.
I know, like you had to talk and talk and talk, and like he lost the moment.
Not typically an issue with our premier, but anyway.
I know.
Anyway,
Do you think he drank Crown Royal before he did it, or no? Oh.
I do not want to comment on that at all. All right. All right, last couple of things. I wanted to ask you, what do you think's in the water at Nestle? Another executive sacked for putting, they own a lot of brands. I was shocked at how many brands they own, but they own the
I know.
brand Drumstick.
Oh,
That ice cream treat,
they have.
for
It's the
example.
biggest. It's the largest agribusiness company in the world.
So many
And
brands. Anyway, it looks like the CEO put his drumstick in the wrong place. I guess they're drumstick brands. he got ratted out on
Oh
a
my God.
by somebody on a complaint line or
When you're
whatever.
CEO, don't screw with the payroll. Okay.
Well, yeah, I
Just
mean, geez, we had it happened when we were on break, but we had the whole, the whole kiss cam fiasco with that billionaire CEO
I
on a
know.
date with his head of HR.
Yes.
My goodness, what anyway? Is it this some sense of entitlement that nobody's going to touch me and I'm going to do what I want to do? But it's not the
Well, love
case.
is love. I mean, love it. We see it at universities. To be honest, I mean,
Mm,
you just have to be extremely careful because you are. If you're a leader of a company, man or woman, doesn't matter. You are responsible for an entire organization, and if you're seen or if you're perceived as being biased towards certain
mm,
individuals when tough decisions are made, i.e., layoffs or cuts and things like that, it's much harder to be seen as someone with
yeah,
integrity.
yeah.
And so, I mean,
Or
a- as
or
a
or if somebody wants your job, you've made it easy for them, right?
well,
Just phone the anonymous tip line, and suddenly the ladder is restructured.
Well, the other issue, of course, is that when things are bad, who gets all the hits? And I mean, because I suspect that people knew about it. Some people knew about it, and I mean,
Yeah.
corporate politics is always incredibly tough for couples. So I know a lot of people out there are working as a couple in the same organization, but that's never easy.
Mm,
Now, in the food space, there are a lot of family businesses. That's a little different because the family owns the business.
very different.
Nestle is owned by shareholders,
Mm.
so
It's been a
from a
rocky. It's been a rocky couple of years. The shareholders have pushed back on everything from DEI to sustainability objectives, and
yep.
so
Well, it
anyway,
boils down to ethics and integrity, and so yeah, I do think that if you're a
and
leader of an
politics
yeah,
and
absolutely, and you
politics.
want to be you want to follow strict rules and be
Mm.
held to a higher standard. I find it quite appropriate. So to see the CEO of Nestle go because of this is, in my view, appropriate. Yeah, I don't know what your thoughts are, but I thought it was. I wasn't surprised.
Yeah. I don't know. I think somebody had it out for him, and he made it easy for him. It's kind of like when the Russians set up leaders in with cameras. That's
Well,
what I
no,
think.
I don't know how it happened, but
The
to
tip line,
decide.
anonymous tip line. Somebody called in a tip on an anonymous tip
But
line.
as soon as you make a decision as a CEO to start dating someone on payroll, you expose it's your fault. It's
That's
your
right.
fault.
That's right. That's
You
right.
take the responsibility. There is a risk.
Anyway, I'm sure I'll get like some bazillion pay package, so we shouldn't feel too sorry for him.
No, yeah, you'll be fine.
The government issued. I don't know if you saw this. The government issued guidelines in the rollback of the reciprocal tariffs. Did you anything jump out at you that was a surprise there? I think I heard something about the assumption that stuff was CUSMA compliant, that you didn't have to apply for it, but I'm not sure. Did you read through any of that?
No, I didn't read through it. And frankly, it's quite confusing. There's so much going on right now at the border. It's hard to keep up.
Mm,
So I can certainly. I've actually spoken to a couple of companies, and they're confused as well. To prepare for this episode, I actually called a few people, and they couldn't answer. They just didn't know. And so unfortunately, I just don't have an answer for you. But
okay.
I will investigate further for sure.
All right. Well, stay tuned for next week. We'll get a little more clarity from everybody. Apparently, what some things that were said on the microphone were not. It is often the case. The government makes an announcement, but then the details that follow from the civil service are different than the announcement in smaller, sometimes larger ways. Anyway,
Exactly.
so we'll revisit that next week. Wanted to congratulate. What a change! What a change of guard at McDonald's Canada. The president of
Yeah.
McDonald's Canada. She was a 40-year veteran of the organization. Is effective September 1st. She's
From
retiring,
Europe. From
and we got a
Europe.
new Anne Marie. Swink, I think is her name.
Yep, exactly.
From the Netherlands, young executive, clearly, going from the Netherlands to Canada, looking for international placements. So welcome to her. Maybe we can get her on the podcast and
absolutely
get some observations about what's different in Europe and what she's going to do for the Canadian market. So congratulations to Michel Boudret, who's retiring after 40 years. So congratulations.
40 years.
40. Now, speaking of another big retirement, Diane Brisebois is now effectively on to the next and new adventure.
Does she know? Does she know she's retired?
Well, the new president of Retail Council of Canada.
Tireless.
Tireless.
Diane was an incredible leader for the retail industry in Canada. And I must say, so she's been a guest on our pod a few years ago, and great inspiration. And I wish her well. Absolutely.
Well, I'm pretty sure we have not heard the last of Diane, and she's lots of talent and energy. So I imagine we'll be hearing from her. And congratulations to Kim Furlong, who takes over as of yesterday or the day before, as of Tuesday, as the new president of Retail Council of Canada. Perhaps we can get Kim on the pod as well and have her introduce herself. She oversaw advocacy as vice president before my time, so her and I never overlapped. So I'm looking forward to meeting Kim and chatting with her. We'll be together actually in Vancouver towards the end of the month. I'm heading to Vancouver for Retail West. I'm interviewing two great interviews, none in the food business, but one is the president of Best Buy Canada. And second is the founder and chairman of Aritzia, which is one of the most successful Canadian retailers, Brian Hill. So I'm really looking forward to my time.
I have three daughters. They're big fans of Aritzia. Oh, yeah. Inside out.
And it's mostly hand wash. So, my goodness. All right. Well, listen, great episode. We got more great interviews coming up next week. And we've got lots of fast-moving commentary. So we'll get back to that next week. Don't forget that you can watch this entire episode online on our YouTube channel. We were a little late posting the last one for technical issues, but we'll be more current in posting this one. So visit our YouTube channel and you can watch us stumble through, or watch me stumble through the episode. And until then, I'm Michael LeBlanc, media entrepreneur and keynote speaker. And you are?
I'm the food professor, Sylvain Charlebois.
Safe travels, everybody.
Take care.